Captain's Log number 887. Today, the most anticipated movie of all time has just recently been released in theaters this weekend, and I watched it, and I'm just gonna talk about it.
Lost in space, an alien race, trapped in orbit with no escape, watching films from Earth's display, passing time from day to day. Stuck in orbit, what can I do? A movie marathon will have to do. From drama to horror and comedy too, an alien cinema will break through.
So this weekend, Deadpool finally came out, Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's what everybody's been waiting for. It's gonna be the biggest movie of the century! Or is it? So, to set the tone for this review, I'm gonna just tell you what is my history with Deadpool. To be honest, not very in-depth. I've never read any of the comics, or really looked into any of the lore or anything. I actually haven't seen any of the movies until just a few days ago. So, in preparation to watch Deadpool and Wolverine, I watched Deadpool 1 and 2 back to back. And to be honest, I don't know what all the hype was about, but I think I figured it out. Deadpool 1 and 2 were kind of the first superhero movies to have really explicit language, sex, violence, gore, all that kind of stuff. It's super gritty and also has really dark humor. And we've never seen that before in a superhero movie. So it was just mind-blowing, whoa, and people just ate it up. But since Deadpool 1 and 2 came out, we've had a whole bunch of other gritty R-rated superhero movies and also TV series. For instance, we had 4 seasons of The Boys that came out after Deadpool 2. And now the market is just completely saturated with gritty, funny superhero movies and TV shows. So is all the hype even really worth it for Deadpool and Wolverine? This was a question I had going into it. Is it actually going to bring something else to the table besides just another raunchy superhero movie? And I would have to say I was pleasantly surprised that it did. Of course, it had all the funny elements and meta humor, and also a lot of the gore and violence that you would expect from a Deadpool movie. But it had other things that the previous Deadpool movies were missing. When I watched the first 2 Deadpool movies, the one thing that I felt was really missing was the straight man. Of course, Deadpool is not the straight man. He's never serious, always sarcastic and everything like that, but he needs a straight man to kind of balance it out, and he doesn't really have that, not throughout the entire movie. And all of the other characters also are kind of really funny and not serious at all. To be honest, I don't really like Ryan Reynolds' style of humor. I feel like he takes a joke and he runs with it for way too long. And so a joke that originally was really funny and you did laugh at initially, you become just kind of tired at and bored, and then you finally just get on with it. But to be honest, I think that some of the side characters were even funnier than Deadpool. The bartender and the taxi driver, they're way funnier than Deadpool. They're way funnier than Ryan Reynolds. I laughed way more at their subtle humor than I did at Ryan Reynolds' kind of meandering humor. But we're not talking about Deadpool 1 and 2. We're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, the most anticipated film of the century. And the biggest difference between Deadpool and Wolverine and the first 2 movies is we have that straight character. We have Wolverine. And Wolverine is not a humorous character, and he doesn't really have very many jokes in the entire movie. But he plays that straight character so well, and that's what you really need in these types of comedies, and this is what was missing in the first 2 movies. Now, in some of the marketing for this movie, they said, you don't need to see any other movies before you watch this one. It's there's no homework required. And I would have to say that's kind of a lie. Of course, you can watch this movie without seeing any other Marvel movies or reading any of the comics or anything. Of course, you can do that. It's not illegal. But I don't think you will enjoy it nearly as much as if you kind of have some, context. And for this movie to get, real context for a lot of the characters, you don't just have to watch all of the MCU movies. You also have to watch all of the Fox movies, too. Or at least be familiar with all of the X-Men, the Fantastic Four movies, and everything else that Fox made that's superhero related, that's Marvel related. Because obviously this is a combination of Disney MCU and Fox Marvel. Another thing that you should be familiar with before watching this movie in order to like really enjoy it is kind of the inside Hollywood politics that were happening between Disney and Fox, and also with the Fox acquisition and all of that drama that happened there. If you're not familiar with all of that kind of stuff, you're not going to get, I would say, like half these jokes. And I have never read any of the comic books, and so I'm sure there's a lot of references to the comic books that just went right over my head. Now, one thing that this movie had was cameos upon cameos upon cameos. And usually that kind of stuff is kind of cringy, and it's like super fan servicey. But they used it in a really smart way here that really like helped with the plot. And move things along. And so it wasn't just like, let's stop everything so we can look at this character, you know, and just like, ooh and ah, because he's here and we haven't seen him in forever. No, like, these characters actually have a place in the story and things to do. Now, one thing that bugs me about the Deadpool movies overall is, so Deadpool's motivation always has to deal with his girlfriend. And, like, something happened to his girlfriend, and that's kind of the motivation for everything. And, of course, I've never read the comics, but it seems kind of like a stupid excuse for a superhero movie, that the superhero's girlfriend is the motivation of why he does everything. Especially for a character like Deadpool. But the biggest issue I have is that, like, these things that happen with his girlfriend are such a huge deal, but it always happens off screen. For instance, in the second movie, his whole motivation to be able to, like, go on this crusade to, like, help this kid out was because his girlfriend was dead. Which is great, except for his girlfriend died off screen before the movie even started. So, like, the impact of his girlfriend dying is not quite there. Like, I don't feel it. You know, he feels it because it's his girlfriend. But I didn't get to see it with my own eyes. And so I don't feel it. Same thing happened with this movie as well. I don't want to spoil it, but really, his whole motivation to do this, all of this stuff, is because of his girlfriend and, like, the drama in his relationship. But the issue is that the drama happened off screen before the movie started. And so you don't, like, as an audience, you're not invested in this drama. And that's just my biggest complaint about Deadpool overall. But overall, excellent movie. I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I know that Disney Marvel has been striking out lately. Like, they have not had, like, a solid hit in a long time. And I totally expected them to botch this one up as well. But no, it was actually a really good movie. Highly recommend. But, unfortunately, I think you do have to do some homework before you watch it. But yeah, I would have to give it about an 8 out of 10. And with that, it's a captain's log out.